Welcome, everybody. SF Live, episode 25, 10 a.m. Pacific. We've established this time as our time, and I'm extremely excited to welcome Matt Lennox-King here in a second. He's the CEO of Contact Gold. As you know, before we switch over, just a quick reminder, make sure to subscribe and follow us here on Twitter. We're also uploading this video chat or live conversation with Matt to YouTube and Spotify as well. I haven't announced that really, but we've uploaded all the episodes to Spotify in the past as well. So make sure to go check that out. It's under SF Live and you can find it there. Also use hashtag AskC for your questions. This is an interactive format for you guys to ask questions directly. I'll answer we'll try to answer all of them. They are showing up here on Twitter, so there's no hiding from them. And it's really important for transparency. And of course, there's a lot of stuff happening in the markets these days that need to be addressed, or if you have some questions about the company, and they're quite active, so I'm sure something will pop up. Let me switch over to Matt. And Matt, thanks for coming on the show. I hope you're doing well. How are things?
There you go. Things going really well, actually, yeah, and thanks for having me on.
No, it's a pleasure, and we've been chatting on and off for years now, and we've been working together for a while, and ever since Green Springs came on, we haven't chatted too much, unfortunately, and I'm quite excited to get that update from you and see what's going on there. But before we get started, we got to talk about still the topic of conversation still is COVID-19, Corona crisis. I can see you're not in the office, you're at the home office, so how has that impacted you in general?
Yeah, look, I mean, it certainly had an impact on the way we've gone about our business, like most people. Our office in Vancouver has essentially been closed since the week after PDAC in early March. The team in Nevada has been in the field, but we haven't been actively drilling. As far as an impact, like we have a pretty widely dispersed team as it is anyway. There's a group of us who work out of Vancouver, one in Toronto, a cluster in Nevada as well, and our chairman happens to be in Oz. So we're used to being distant from one another, and thankfully everyone's remained healthy. Everyone's families have remained healthy through the pandemic. So that's been a real plus.
Yeah, and from what I understand, actually Nevada is open for business in terms for mining companies. So there haven't been any hindering matters or something. And BLM is working, from what I understand. And you guys don't need a permit. We're going to get to that, but that's just something that popped up. And in terms of permitting, that's usually Corona slowing things down in other places. So permitting is not impacted for you guys.
Not at Green Springs. At Pony Creek, it actually has been. Okay. So we, as you know, have been working on our plan of operations for Pony for the better part of 2.5 years. The approval of that is imminent, but as we expected to likely get it in March, it likely won't be till sometime this month. And that's because the process at the BLM has slowed down that much.
No, but
related to Corona.
Yeah, it's I'm time to get over with. As everybody can see, like I need to see a barber. That's no, I've desperately need a haircut, and it's time for things to get back to normal. Unfortunately, it's impacting everybody. Fortunately, it's impacting everybody, so it's not too bad, and you're more accepting about it, I guess.
Yeah.
We got to talk about Green Springs. There's a lot of attention. You guys put some really good drill results out, and we're not supposed to have a corporate presentation or something. That's not the format of SF Live, but I really want you to give me as well an update, like what have you been doing and what are the next steps for Green Springs for you guys?
Absolutely. Thanks, Kaya. So Green Springs, as you know, we acquired it under a purchase option last July, so July of 19. It's a project we've been following for a while, really based on, one, the location. So southern end of the Cortez Trend, close to Fiore, close to a project that we actually owned when the team was still at Pilot Gold called Griffin. So there's a lot of Carlin type gold down there. But really it was two things. One was the grade profile from the drilling that had been done previously. So that's up to 5 grams over 40 meters of oxide. Most drill results are on the order of 1 gram to 1.5 grams over 30 to 40 meters, all shallow, all 100% oxidized. So that was super attractive. But then also the wealth of data, the ability to come in, do some really, really good science, which is what we did for about the first 4 months that we controlled the project. And then we drilled very impactful drill program, specifically focused on the Echo zone, which is the most southerly. It's the highest grade. That's where you have, I think our best hole was 2.3 over 70 meters. And then 5 kilometers distant to the north, we have the Alpha zone, where again, we're about 1.5 grams over 40 meters. So it's been really impactful. From our point of view, like as you know, we look at a lot of projects to stay current, what the opportunities are. And to our mind, it is or certainly one of the most exciting exploration plays in Nevada right now. Green Springs itself.
No, you mentioned a couple aspects I want to go dive into a little deeper.
Yeah.
But let's talk maybe about the financing first before we talk about a little more about Green Springs, because you got some neighbors that are quite active as well, so it's a proximity play. But the drill results that you put out and that you just mentioned, they triggered obviously this financing. You just raised $1.5 million, if I'm not mistaken.
1.25.
That's what it was. Okay.
1.25. Yeah.
Questions like, did you raise too early? Because the last 2 weeks, it seems like the market has just been exploded. Have you been too early on raising?
Yep. Potentially. Although the raise was done at 10 cents as a unit, and about 10 days after announcing, we traded as high as 20 cents.
Yeah. So
we didn't close at 20, but certainly, so that definitely helped to fill the book and drive interest. Even though we're a sub 20 million market cap company at the moment, so we've definitely seen the producers, some of the developers, and the larger caps really perform in this market. And as is typical, the explorers or smaller caps lag a bit.
No, just this week, the last 10 days.
Maybe we did.
Last 10 days have just been really active, and also in the junior space. And it's not just the big financings like Silvercrest. We've seen Orla, Bluestone, Marathon raising 30, but also a few smaller ones that I didn't expect to get filled or even upsized, and more in the $5 million range, right? Which is a positive. And that leads me to my next question. Like, where has the interest for your financing been coming from? Obviously, you have a big shareholder base already, but did you see any inbounds from people you maybe didn't expect?
Absolutely, yeah. So we had, as you know, we have a pretty good institutional shareholder base already. So there is participation from existing holders. We did have some inbounds from funds, like institutions who don't currently own the stock, at pretty good participation levels, and really sort of an out of left field expression of interest on a Sunday morning type thing. So it was definitely very positive.
Oh, that's good to see. Like, I mean, I'm really excited to hear that, because that means that we're finally building a foundation for moving ahead. So, and that there's more interest coming back. And I've been saying that for years now, but we needed a crash in the main markets for investors to come back into our high risk sector, because the people will need, investors will need to see returns, right?
Well, I think that's right. I think anecdotally you also hear from mainly the bankers, but also some of the research analysts is, look, they have institutions or high net worth generalists who are constantly looking for new gold names right now. What are maybe the under the radar companies that you love, who has a quality asset, undervalued, that type of thing. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
I've been talking to quite a few investors out of Europe as well. Like, let me know when you do a PP or when you see something, like, really keen on looking at stuff, right? So, and that's really positive. I haven't heard that the last 12 months, really. Like, people are always looking, but there's more urgency behind it now. So, which is really good.
Right.
Let's get back to Green Springs. Because the results triggered the financing, so let's get back to the underlying. And I want to talk a little bit about your neighbors' impact in the area, and how is that affecting you guys?
Yeah, for sure. In the immediate term, there hasn't been a massive impact as far as, I don't think, market reaction or anything like that. So the immediate neighbors are Fiore Gold, so Tim Warman's company. They have the Pan Mine, the Gold Rock development asset. I think what that does is it shows, and their grades are significantly lower than what we see at Green Springs thus far. So Pan's about 0.42 average grade. Gold Rock's about double that.
And they just came up with a feasibility study for it, and they're moving ahead to production, from what I understand.
That's correct? Right. Yeah, exactly, at Gold Rock. And so you're looking at all-in sustaining costs somewhere around $1,000 an ounce. And that's on a relatively low-grade deposit. It's about 500,000 ounces. What are we looking at? About a 6-year mine life. So what it shows us is that, even at significantly lower grades than what we see at Green Springs, you can still have a very robust heap leach operation. Other companies in the area, we have Fremont, so Blaine Monahan. They acquired the old Griffin mine just to the east of us. And then actually Waterton owns 2 past producing assets as well. They have the feasibility stage, Mount Hamilton. Just to the north of us, it's about 5K. In excess of 500,000 ounces of gold with quite a bit of silver, and then the Illapah mine as well, which is again a little bit closer to Bald Mountain. So in the district.
No, go ahead. Yeah. Sorry, the district.
Oh, I was just going to say, district wide, you're roughly, obviously non-compliant, et cetera, but roughly 1.5 million ounces in the immediate area. And that's not including any potential resources at Green Springs.
Green Springs, good point. What's the plan now? You raised $1.25 million dollars. What's the plan moving ahead at Green Springs now? Because you're not drilling right now. So.
Absolutely. So we're a measured approach, as I think we talked about before. Just we didn't want to get out ahead of ourselves, and all of a sudden there'd be a big outbreak in Elko County and have to start again or stop and start again. So with the 1.25, that does give us the ability to get out at Green Springs. There's really three key areas that we need to or want to address at Green Springs. One is what we'd call the home run target. So this is taking a very similar approach to what Moira Smith and the team at Liberty have taken at Black Pine. So you have an old mine horizon being, in this case, the Chayman Shale. The names don't really matter. Reasonably productive, good grades, but then one horizon down, you have another regional host unit, in this case called the Pilot Shale. That hasn't been tested underneath the entire 4-kilometer mine trend at Green Springs. We know just off the mine trend that's what we call our alpha zone. We have up to 1.5 grams over 40 meters of oxide. So one of the main targets here is just drilling that additional 50 meters to hit the pilot. We think there's a very, very good chance of hitting that home run target. Next is really expanding what's been done in the past. So drilling a little bit deeper along strike, like not rocket science, but good methodical exploration. And then finally testing a whole series of greenfield targets. So things like our Tango target, which is over 0.5 kilometer by 200 meters, really strong grades at surface, good alteration. So really a multifaceted approach at Green Springs, and we have very, very high hopes.
You need to be a little more creative. You need to get some better names for your asset, for your targets there.
Well, you know what? It was even when we acquired it, it was the A zone, the B zone, the C zone, the D zone. So at very least, we've gone beyond a strict alphabet.
Okay.
So,
do you have more details in terms of meters of drilling and drill holes you plan to put in? Has that been specified yet?
It's still in its planning stage. An ideal program this year would be about 8,000 meters. It's always somewhat subject to capital availability, but 8,000 meters really allows us to address each of those three main targeting concepts pretty well, and certainly get us on the road to both discovery and resource definition. I think in a system like this, where we're 10 months into our ownership of the asset, if you go too hard too fast, the expression would be you get out over your skis and you end up wasting a lot of money, right? So,
any idea when you start poking the first hole in the ground?
Yeah, ideally early June. I mean, the real blessing at Green Springs compared to other areas in Nevada or North America more generally is we're fully permitted, so we have the plan of operations in hand there. There's a really good, and generally precipitation and snow load is quite low there. So it really is a 12-month of the year opportunity. Yeah. Versus our Pony Creek project, where you're really restricted from mid-May until November.
Okay. No, and I've been to Pony Creek 2 years ago.
Yeah, so
2 years ago or something. Yeah, it's been a while now. Time flies.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Let's talk about Pony Creek. That's a good segue, actually. It's taken a bit of a step back to Green Springs because the results were great. And what are you planning to do with Pony Creek? And let's talk about the whole area as well. It was an area play at some point. You delivered some good real results, but things have quieted down a little bit. So give us an update on Pony Creek as well.
Yeah, they have. And I think the quieting down in the district is an interesting point, right? From the day we started trading, so in 2017, we really traded in tandem with Gold Standard Ventures. So the company just to the north of us, right? And I think the expectation or the reason for that is, look, Gold Corp at the time owned 15% of Contact. They owned 15% of Gold Standard Ventures. And I think there was always the expectation out there in the market on the street that there would be a consolidation of the district under Gold Corp. Yeah. Or simply a consolidation of Contact by Gold Standard Ventures. And clearly that hasn't happened. What has happened district-wide outside of our own activities, like GSV's done effectively a 2-stage PFS. I would say it didn't meet the market's expectations, but nonetheless, it does show a really robust economic gold project. Yeah. So you're looking at roughly a 10-year mine life, all-in sustaining costs of roughly $650 an ounce, which at $1,700 gold is really attractive. Capital cost is manageable, about $150, and it does demonstrate that these lower grade Carlin type deposits that are pretty ubiquitous in Nevada, like Silver Standard's Marigold, can make really good cash flow even on a new build. And so you translate that through to Pony Creek. Yeah, to your point, we've had excellent drill results over the last 2 and a bit years out of Pony, up to a gram over 100 meters in the oxides. But I think what's slowed down our progress, or what has slowed down our progress, is that we're still waiting on our plan of operations. Part of that is bureaucracy, and part of it, to be fair, is COVID as well. We'd expected to have that in hand months ago. It'll likely be a few more weeks to a month until we have that in hand at Pony, and without that, we're reluctant to get back on the ground with the drill. Right, that plan of operation is designed to get us into new, really high potential areas instead of coming back to some of the same areas that we've been active in the past at Pony Creek.
Let's look at outlook a bit. Like, you raised money, so you're going to drill. Waiting for plan of operations. You just mentioned it for Pony Creek. What are future catalysts? Do you have any holes still in the lab right now from Green Springs, or what's the process? What can we expect as investors from you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So you'd be looking at things like start of work at Green Springs, perhaps some land consolidation in the district. There's still some areas that we think are pretty attractive that we'd like to add to the property position. Certainly started drilling, and that's really it, just getting that flow going again at Green Springs. Outside of Green Springs, it would be plan of operations for Pony Creek. It would be also, we have a series of met results from Pony Creek as well that will be ready to release to the market.
We got to talk
soon enough.
There was one question I knew we were going to hit in a second. So,
yeah.
Okay.
No.
Met results.
Met results from Pony Creek as well. Looking at the oxides, and I think much like the results at Green Springs, they'll likely demonstrate that what's there at Pony Creek does leach very, very well.
Okay, met results. And that gave me a bit of a smile, because I personally, I'm not an engineer or chemist, right? So when I read a news release headline that says bottle roll tests show 108% gold recovery, I was like, what does that mean? Did you add a little bit on top of it, or?
It doesn't mean that we're neither creating nor are we creating gold, nor are we salting the core. Look, so that ratio is derived from when you look at the original fire assay versus the cyanide solubility assay. They have different detection limits. So you could say that the cyanide solubility is a more sensitive assay. So when you do the math, you have more decimals, you can end up with something like 108% gold recovery.
Quite interesting. It's just the headline itself. I'm sure, and I saw it on Stockwatch. I'm sure Stockwatch made an effort to put that in the headline, right? So,
absolutely, yes. I can guarantee that our news release was not written like that. but what it does say is that, look, what is there at Green Springs does leach very, very well.
Yeah. Like, even if the extra percent, because I'm not used to seeing triple-digit recoveries, right? So that's the first time. That's why.
Oh, of course not. Not. And I would say blanket, you're at Green Springs in the initial work we've done, you're probably 92 to 94%.
Yeah.
And then obviously as you go through test work and in an ultimate mining scenario, I would be highly surprised or skeptical if it would actually turn out to be 92 to 94%. You're probably something less than that.
Okay. Just trying to see if we got any questions in, because I've been sent one question beforehand. I just want to make sure if there's anything else that's on Twitter. Just double checking. That's why I keep looking at the other screen and looking away from you the whole time. And we don't have any questions on Twitter right now, but I've been sent one question directly, and it's regarding your G&A. And the question was your G&A is fairly high in comparison to other exploration companies, or sort of your stage. Maybe you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, sure thing. The real driver from that is we are actually a U.S. company. So we are on the TSX Venture Exchange, but our registered address for the company is actually in Nevada. So as a result of that, until very, very recently, we've had to do both U.S. reporting and Canadian reporting. And you add another layer, but that means extra audits, extra legal fees, and the like. And that's driven a lot of that. So we've been able to simplify that process. And actually, we've been calling it the Wenger exemption. So instead of having to do an IFRS set of financials and US GAAP set of financials, we've actually, the regulators in Canada will accept US GAAP.
Okay. No, the Wenger exemption, I love it. That's the name of your CFO, by the way, right?
So that's exactly right. Yeah. John's our CFO.
So interesting. Okay. No, US, because I remember signing when I participated in a placement year and a half, 2 years ago or something like that, with the US ledger and everything that was on it because it was a US company, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So that's probably hereditary from the setup or something, right? So
that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
So, okay. That was one of the few questions. I think we talked about all the important aspects. Like, I made a couple notes beforehand, and I think we talked about the bottle roll tests, the financing, your neighbors, which I find quite interesting. Nevada in general, we sort of touched on the various districts, and it's just really important to point out that Nevada is open for business right now. There's nothing shut down, so I'm quite curious to see. Actually, I think Barrick put out their numbers the other day. I haven't even looked at them, so I was quite curious.
They did. They were impressive. I didn't go into them in detail, but they were definitely impressive, and I think that, they were operating under some restrictions for the mines on the Carlin and Cortez trend, but they were still able to maintain production levels and the like. So it's Nevada did a pretty good job. As you know, Nevada is pretty socially distant anyway once you get out of Vegas. So
yeah, there's not much.
For a lot of people, I don't think it was much of a change.
No, that's true. And I heard actually Bristow spoke on CNBC yesterday, and he ordered, Barrick ordered 800,000 masks for their operations, but apparently the masks are not certified in the U.S.
Oh, really?
So he's having issues. Like they can send them everywhere else, but apparently they're not certified in the U.S. I thought that was quite an interesting tidbit. So, but we're drifting off. Let's get the attention back on Contact. Why don't you put a bow around us for Contact? Any final famous last words for Contact and to sum it up for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I would say to sum it up, and it's what we generally do when we do these things. We're really excited about Green Springs. I think that the potential there, which is demonstrated by the previous drill results, but also the exploration model we've come up with, the potential to keep drilling and keep hitting high grade oxide gold is really exciting. There aren't too many opportunities like this in Nevada specifically, where you come in with a big database, call it a real head start in an active district, and be able to really hit the ground running. Now we have really, really high hopes for it. Pony Creek is still there as a really exciting exploration asset. Unfortunately, it's bogged down in a bit of permitting, but I do think with the team, so myself, a bunch of other Frontier and Pilot alumni and Integra alumni, some of the backers we have, and really a turning gold market that we have really high hopes for Contact.
Oh, let's say it's $1,700 gold, and it'll trickle down to the explorers. So I'm quite positive from what we've seen the last 2 weeks actually in the market. So really cool. I think you're onto something there. Quite interesting. Cool. Matt, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. SF Live episode 25 is over. Make sure to follow us here on Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and give us a like or something if you like our content. It's really important for us to get that feedback to keep pushing, because we don't charge the companies for these interviews. So we're just doing it because we like it. So we're good. Matt, stay safe, wash your hands, and we'll talk very soon.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Kai. Really appreciate it.